Now, in 1 Kings 18:24, we have this. The prophet Elijah challenges Israel with this statement, the God that answers by fire, let him be God. Now, that statement, you know, is spoken to by one of the greatest prophets that ever sent to man. God ever sent. They were spoken to Israel, a people who had known the great power of God, but the time of the prophet's message, at that time, their worship had been reduced to an empty form and a hollow mockery. They'd learned how to have church without God. That's a tragedy of our time. Israel had listened to the soft-spoken words of the false prophet until the pure religion of God had become a mixture of the true and the false. The time had come when silence was no longer virtue. A wicked pagan queen by the name of Jezebel sat on the throne of Israel, and from that lofty position she led Israel to the slaughter. She had induced the sons and daughters to intermarry with pagan nations around them, thus mixing the nation nationally. She further caused the pagan witchcraft religion of Baal to be mixed with the pure religion of God. To this, God reacted violently. It was against this awful mixture that God sent the prophet Elijah. Now, in ringing tones, with a sublime indifference to his own personal safety, the man of God challenged that nation. When she refused to listen, he cursed her with a devastating drought that lasted for 3.5 years. A drought that so crippled and dehumanized the people that some resorted to eating their own children. And it was the end of this drought that the prophet challenged the people with the words of my text. Let the God that answers by fire, let him be God. Now, the whole affair resolved itself around one issue. If God be God, serve him. If Baal be God, serve him. But the message was clear. You cannot mix them. After thousands of years, the problem in the 21st century is the same. A mixture of Christianity and the religion of Baal. It is true that the Christian church has many problems, but most of those problems would disappear if we would purge her of the false. Martin Luther once said, unless we address ourselves to the issue that are affecting the church at this point in time, we may as well keep silent. Today, the ministry is for the most part dedicated to success and not to Christ. Therefore, the prevailing issue is rarely ever mentioned. With the ecumenical movement, there's been a shift in emphasis. And the emphasis is on the unity at the expense of truth. Doctrinal beliefs are belittled. The only thing that matters is that we get together. And any voice that would lift itself in opposition to this golden calf rejects, or risks rather, total rejection. The route of Babylon is the route of success in religion today. In spite of the fact that God hates every false way, there's being pushed by the prevailing voices a mixture of neo-Pentecostalism and Romanism, and it's being swallowed by the masses.